Here we go, folks, page 2. A big idea from page 1 is this, the area ratio. Is equal to the scale factor or similarity ratio squared. And sometimes we call that little r for scale factor. So we got to square that. The area ratio also can be written as a fraction of two areas. Okay, so that's some background from page 1 that we're going to start using here on page 2. 8-69, use your pattern from problem 8-68 to answer the following questions. Kelly's shape at right has an area of 17 square millimeters. So let's call this A1. And if she enlarges the shape with a linear scale or zoom factor of 5, so she's going to scale it up with a factor of 5. What will be the area of the enlargement? So they want to know what A2 is. So we're going to set up this proportion. A2 over A1 is going to be equal to the scale factor squared. Let's plug in what we know. A2 is the thing we're looking for. A1 is 17. The scale factor is 5, and we're going to square that. So I believe that means we're going to do A2 equals 17 times 5 squared, which is also 17 times 25. And that is 425. Now, all good math students include units on answers where appropriate. So that's 425 millimeters squared, because those are that's the units of area on Kelly's original shape. Let's go down to part B. Examine the two similar shapes at right. What is the linear scale factor? What is the area of the smaller figure? Well, for the linear scale factor, we got to look at how the dimensions change from here to here. So that's a scale factor of 4. 10 times 4 is 40. That's how we get from the little shape on the left to the big shape on the right. Let's go ahead and call this A1. Let's call this A2. So what is the area of the smaller figure? That means we are asked to find the area that we've labeled as A sub 1. So let's go ahead and set up that familiar ratio. A2 over A1 is equal to the scale factor squared. Let's plug in what we know. A2 is 656 square units. A1 is our unknown. The scale factor is 4, but we got to square that. Look, I got a fraction on the left, but on the right that don't have a fraction. Yes, we do. We can actually write it like that. The reason why I wrote it like that is because we're trying to find something down in the denominator here, and that is often confusing to students. But if we write it in this form, it's easy to see that we can swap the diagonals there. And that's going to give us the following equation. A1 equals 656 over 4 squared. That's 656 divided by 16. And that gives us an answer of 41. The units on that, it's just square units. We don't know if they're square inches, square miles, square angstroms. Doesn't matter. They're square units. It's area. We're going to label it appropriately. Okay, part C. Rectangle ABCD is divided into 9 smaller congruent rectangles. Is the shaded rectangle, which is this guy right here, is the shaded rectangle similar to rectangle ABCD? If so, what is the linear scale factor, and what is the ratio of the areas? If the shaded rectangle is not similar to ABCD, explain how you know. Okay, well, let's just take a look here, and let's make sure we understand some of the perspective here. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they split this into equal sides because it says it's divided into 9 smaller congruent rectangles, so each of these rectangles is the same. That means that these dimensions here are the same. Okay, so let's just call this 1 unit here, and let's call this 2 units here. All right, so is the shaded rectangle similar to rectangle ABCD? Okay, I sketched out the 2 rectangles here just so we can take a look at them, not overlapping each other. Rectangle ABCD has dimensions here of 3 units. And let's see, 2, 4, that's 6 over here. So it's 3 by 6 based on how I sketched it. And that the little shaded rectangle, that has dimensions of 2 and 4. So in order for them to be similar, they have to have the same shape and the same same side length ratios. So let's see if that's true. Well, certainly they're both rectangles, but let's check the ratios. To get from 4 to 6, it's times 1.5. To get from 2 to 3, it's also times 1.5. So the answer to the question, are they similar? Is the shaded rectangle similar to rectangle ABCD? The answer to that is yes. What is the linear scale factor? So the scale factor here of, let's write it like this. ABCD over shaded is going to be 3 over 2. You could also write it as 6 over 4, but both of those reduce or simplify to a decimal of 1.5. So that is the scale factor of the linear scale factor. Now, how about the ratio of the areas? Okay, so let's call this A2 and A1. A2 over A1 is going to be the scale factor squared. So that's going to be 9 over 4. And let's see if that's obvious when we go back and kind of look at the original picture. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The big rectangle ABCD is 9 of those little rectangular units, where the gray shaded is only 4. So that's where we get our 9/4. All right, last but not least here, part D. While ordering carpet for his rectangular office, Trin was told by the salesperson that a 16 by 24 foot piece of carpet costs $800. Trin then realized that he read his measurements wrong. Come on, Trin, take some time and read your measurements more carefully. It's actually 8 foot by 12 foot. The salesperson says, "Oh, hey, no problem. That's no problem. That's half the size, so it's going to only cost you $400. Trin suspects that there's some foul play involved, so we need to see if this is fair and then decide what the actual price should be. So I'm going to kind of show this to you 2 different ways. We'll start by looking at that first area, the 16 foot by 24 foot, and we're going to compare that to the second area, the Trin's corrected dimensions, which were 8 foot by 12 foot. So let's take a look at the relationship here. It should be no surprise that to go from 24 to 12, we're multiplying by 1/2, and to go from 16 to 8, we're also multiplying by 1/2. So let's talk about the scale factor here for a second. We'll use R, that side length ratio, and let's look at small over big, just to make sure we have the numbers in the right place. The small side of 1 was 8. The corresponding side there was 16. We know that's 1/2. So if we're comparing small over big, we have a ratio of 1/2. That's also known as our scale factor. Well, let's now look at the area ratio of small over big. So that'll be A2, because, A2 is the smaller one here, over A1. And the reason why I kind of use the term small and big here is because it's important whenever you write a ratio to make sure you understand what you're comparing to what. So the small divided by the big is 1/2. If I'd switch those, I'd get a number of a ratio of 2, which isn't wrong. It just means you're comparing them in a different order. Okay, enough about that. The area ratio, we know, is equal to the scale factor squared. So that means we have a ratio here of areas that's 1/4. Well, I find this interesting. He went from a cost of $800 to $400. That's only half. Okay, the cost should be 1/4. Okay, so the new cost should be equal to $800 times 1/4. $800 divided by 4 is $200. So that's what we should be charged. So Trin was right. This guy at the carpet store is trying to rip us off. we should only be paying $200. I want to look at this one other way. Carpet is sold as a cost per square foot. So if we have 16 feet times 24 feet, that gives us 384 square feet. So we have a cost of $800, and that's over 384 square feet. So that gives us a cost of about $2.08 per square foot. Okay, so let's look at Trin's actual size. We need to look at those new dimensions. That was 8 feet by 24 feet. That gives us 96 square feet of carpet. So if we have 96 square feet and we multiply by $2.08 per square foot, okay, the way those units work out, if you do dollars per square foot times square foot, those units cancel and we're left with dollars. And when you do $2.08 times 96 square feet, you get about $200. There's a little bit of rounding error there because I took off some of the decimals after the 8 there, but that's another way to look at this problem. Trin should only be paying $200. All right, that's it, folks. Hope you learned a little bit there. Take a look at the review preview, and we'll see you soon.